just to go back here very quickly, because I do want to summarize what I want to talk about here. So people have been asking me about Kingmaker. So I'm not going to go into like a deep, like, I'm not going to read the whole paragraph here. I'm just going to kind of give you an idea of what Kingmaker is, and I'll read what it does. So basically, Kingmaker has been something they recently introduced into Quick Play Hacked. The idea behind it is that you queue up with no rolls, and then you have people pick rolls. When all the rolls are filled up, the last remaining roll, whether it's a support, a DPS, or a tank, they end up with increased bonuses, right? So, for example, tank, if you're... The funny part about the tank one is the Kingmaker bonus just felt like regular Overwatch. So you get health increased by 150 HP, you get your movement speed increased by 15%, and you get decreased CC and incoming critical damage. The problem is that they use arcade tank HP, so your HP, if you're the tank, just goes back to what it is normally, basically. So it's kind of scuffed. I was playing Zarya, and I'm like, is this... Did they change anything? And I realized it was just, I was back to my normal tank one. Then you have the Damage Maker one, which, as we explained yesterday, has your health is increased by 50, a good bonus, gets rid of some breakpoints. All cooldowns is increased by 20%, really strong, and your attack and reload speed are increased by 20%. So you shoot faster, you reload faster, and you get to use your abilities quicker. And then with support, there's the heal, and your health is increased by 100, more survivability. Heal into allies increased by 30%. All cooldowns decreased by 20%. So there you go. But let's talk about, like, what are the positives of this? And what are, like, the negatives? So the couple positives I see is this. It alleviates queue times. Right? This reduces any queue time issue ever in Overwatch, whether it's 5v5 or 6v6. So the concept of, like, a max 2, a max 3, doesn't matter how many people you have, this eliminates queue time issues. 2, it can add variety. Okay? It can add variety to, like team comps. You have a little bit more ability to play more of the way that you want to play rather than being forced into, like, let's say one tank, etc. All right, so that's like the first, like, part of it that I think is really cool. Now, the flip side of that is the trade-off of all of that worth the decrease in quality of games? And what I mean by that is more so for ranked. I mean, it can happen in quick play too, but this definitely means that it will be harder to get more balanced ranked games. But it could be as simple as, like, if it's 50-50 right now, it might go to 48-52. I don't like how it feels. So it could be or it could be worse than that. It could be better than that. We don't know. But that's kind of like where the trade-off is, right? Is like you have these two variations of one can be really good, right? And like you have these ideas, but there's also the trade-off of, do players want worse quality games? And the reason why it would be worse quality, just to give you an idea, is that let's say that 5 support players queue up. 5 support players queue up to play because they're just queued up. They just hit, I want to play ranked. 5 support players go into a game. Their MMR's even. The other team has 2 tank players, 2 supports, and a DPS who queued up. You see what I'm saying? Where the game quality could shift because the matchmaker, maybe the matchmaker can take that into effect and still kind of role queue place you, but then that would still cause queue time issues. So they probably wouldn't do that. But do you see what I'm saying right now? Where, like, if you have 4 DPS queue up, but you can only play 2 DPS, now you're going to get like a Hog Zarya, comp when who knows what you're going to get, right? You're going to have a DPS Ana. That's where the game quality shifts, right? That's going to happen. But is it worth the trade-off? And that becomes the number one question. And that I can't answer, but I'll explain something where I think it could work and how they could iterate. I'll go from there. So my thoughts. I played Kingmaker yesterday. I got to play different versions of Kingmaker. I was playing different roles. I was playing different whatever. I had 2 tank games. I had 1 tank games. I had 1 support games, 1 DPS games, everything. First of all, tank doesn't feel that good with it right now. Maybe I'm not playing the right stuff. Tank feels okay. Tank just feels like tank. DPS, you could feel it, especially when you're getting pocketed. If you were the Kingmaker, I could even feel it on like a hero like Junkrat that I'm terrible at. But I could like see the benefit of Junkrat with that. Okay? And number 3, obviously, I think support was good in some areas. An example is Moira was amazing. Zenyatta felt terrible. So let's circle back now, because this is where I want to go to next. Could they go live with this in the current iteration? No, I don't think so. And I'll explain what I think the problem is and if they wanted to iterate on this. Let's just say they took the information, they were happy with what they saw, but how do they make it a fully playable, great experience for players? This might be a hot take, but I don't think you can have blanket increases to each role. You can't just go, here's your tank Kingmaker bonus. Here's your damage, and here's your support. It needs to be almost individualized for each character. So, like, Zenyatta would have a certain Kingmaker bonus. Brig has a certain Kingmaker bonus. Lucio has a certain Kingmaker bonus. And I think that could work. Now, is it worth the time? How much iteration do they have to do? Would this feel good? And that goes back to, we circle back to the first questions. Do people like the trade-off of quicker queues, more strategy variety versus quality of games? And that comes down to the question. If the first question is answered, right? If the first question is answered yes, and people like it a lot, and they like to see that, then comes step 2. Is it worth putting the time into each individual hero to make it based off of that? You said in the interview, they said that they would do that if they... Okay, that's good to go. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So that's where my take is at with this in general, is that if they can find a way to, if they like it and they want to move forward with this, the next step would be to go through, and they could, truthfully, they could do it in waves. What they could do, real talk, go to the role with the least amount of heroes, come back in like 2 months and go, we're doing a specific tank Kingmaker bonus strategy. So what they do, they go in there with just the tank as the Kingmaker bonus. You can only have one tank. This is just to test it out. Go through each one. That's a quick play hack. People like it. Boom. Then you do a damage one. Then you do a support one. You can do it in different orders, but the point I'm making is that that's how they could see if they could iterate on it. So would it be cool to see another iteration on this? Absolutely. But I think it's going to come down to if the trade-off of putting the resources into doing the next step is going to be there. I think there's a world where it can work. I also think there's a world where they can just, instead of putting all the time into making each hero do that, they could just do like a talent system like they've also looked at, kind of like we saw with the Halloween event, if you remember the Halloween event. Here's the cool part, though. We now have 2 different iterations of Overwatch that have really good concepts. That's a good sign going forward. Now, the question is, can they iterate on it correctly? And are they willing to put more resources in to make those a more mainstay of the game? Because there's a world where you could have either the Halloween event or Kingmaker being an actual mainstay core part of the game. But I think that if it would only have to be one at this point. That's where I'm at with that. That's my thoughts on Kingmaker. Cool concept, a lot more iteration to be done, but I do like the idea. Now, what is the next step, and is it worth it? And that's what they're gonna have to decide. So we'll see. But that's where I'm at. All right, sound good? So there's my thoughts on Kingmaker. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know, for people like in the YouTube comments especially, and obviously on Twitch right now, and YouTube. Let me know, like the YouTube live. Let me know how you like this style of reactive stuff, because I have been getting better at reacting if you haven't noticed. But I also want to be able to do more stuff like this where I can give you my thoughts in this type of style, where rather than answer like, the question about Kingmaker 650 times, I can reference this video and be like, this is my thoughts. This is where I stand on Kingmaker and where we go from there. So anyway, let me know what you think. I hope you liked the video. Hit the like button if you did. Subscribe to all 3 YouTubes if you haven't. Leave a comment. All that helps. You want to submit your own spectating. Listen, I say a lot of outros. If you have my thoughts, if you want to know questions on things, leave them in the comments. We record these live on streaming. You can see the Twitch, upload the webcam, also stream on YouTube. Stop by if you haven't. With that being said, I hope you all have an amazing day/night.